It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
It's showtime. What's happening, everybody? Yes, you know what time it is. Geno Jones Showtime. I guess you figured it out. You see the sign in the back, the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern on the East Coast here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro. Now, if you are in Chicago, or Milwaukee, St. Louis, Memphis, Houston, Dallas, Central Time, 5:30 out on the West Coast, out in Los Angeles, up in the Bay Area, up in Portland, Oregon, or Seattle, Washington, 3:30 p.m. So please, I need you and everybody you know, all your friends, your family, your coworkers, your church members, your cousins, neighbors, enemies, folks you don't like, aliens, strangers on the train or the bus, even on the interstate. Tell them, hey man, roll the window down. Now make sure you keep the hand on the wheel. Be like, hey, you check out the Geno Show? Do that for me. Please subscribe. You and everybody else subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Please share this and every episode and like every episode. Coming up, my guest of returning to the Geno Jones. She is a repeat. She is I call it part of the Geno Jones Show family. She's been on several times, state senator, running to be the governor, the first black woman governor of the state of South Carolina, and possibly the first black woman governor of any state in America ever. State Senator Mia McCloud. She's standing by in my green room, virtual green room. I'll bring her on in a second. Let me start off the show with some good news. So yesterday, I told you, I'll be sure on Monday, posted on Instagram that Christopher Williams, remember New Jack City, the scene at the table, Wesley Snipes and Christopher Williams was sitting at the table. Then he took the big, long, looked like a sword and stabbed him in his hands like, I never did like you, pretty MF. And then Christopher Williams had the hit song on the New Jack City soundtrack, I'm Dreaming, 'cause I'm dreaming. Boom, 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 boom. Got that bass line, boom, boom, boom. Anyway, so Albie Shore and Christopher Williams are actually cousins in real life. Christopher Williams is the late Ella Fitzgerald's nephew. So Monday, Albie Shore posted on Instagram, pray for my cousin, Christopher Williams. He's in a coma. So here's an update, and there's good news. According to Christopher's representative, said Christopher Williams is not in a coma. I repeat, he is not in a coma. He is resting comfortably and recovering. So we're going to continue to lift that brother up in prayer. That is some good news. Now, this, I guess you could say this is from the Believe It or Not files. So R. Kelly's former cellmate. Yes, this dude was in jail with R. Kelly, sharing a cell. He was actually one of the domestic terrorists that stormed the United States Capitol on January 6th. He got arrested for basically threatening to kill members of Congress. So anyway, I'm not even going to dignify the dude by mentioning his name. That's irrelevant. But apparently he's released a comic book. So he's got all these sketches talking about life. Life is R. Kelly's cellmate. So one of the most interesting things in this comic book, where there was an exchange between the cellmate and R. Kelly, and apparently this dude hadn't been listening to R. Kelly's music, and R. Kelly was, in his feeling some kind of way about that. Because the dude said, I've never heard I Believe I Can Fly. I'd never heard Ignition. And R. Kelly said, I'm the greatest R&B singer in history. Now, Michael Jackson might have something to say about that if he was alive. Prince might have something to say if he was alive. James Brown might have something to say. Usher may have something to say today about that. Bobby Brown could have something to say, but I digress. So R. Kelly was in his feelings. Everybody, I don't know, maybe the dude was busy, planning to kill members of Congress. He didn't have time to go ahead and stream Spotify, Pandora, or pull up R. Kelly CD. Don't know what that is, but I just thought that was pretty interesting. So from the Believe It or Not files, truth can be stranger than fiction. So I want to talk about voting. Once again, I want to shout out to Brother Joe Madison. He is in the Radio Hall of Fame. He does a syndicated radio show on Sirius XM in the mornings. The Black Eagle goes by that name. Many people know him by the Black Eagle. So he started a hunger strike. Basically, he wants to get attention, and he wants everybody from President Biden to all the United States senators, including the two we got right here in South Carolina, Tim Scott and Lindsey Graham, and members of the House of Representatives, to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or the Freedom to Vote Act. People are not taking this threat to democracy serious, guys. And, I got to do everything I can to get people to understand. Listen, what happened on January 6th that's not like a one-off. That was like a dress rehearsal, okay? The people who want to destroy and demolish democracy are animated, and they are energized more than ever. This is not a game. This is serious. There are people who want to completely destroy this democracy, and there's some folks that are going to make money, a lot of money, off of the destruction of democracy, if you can believe that. But it's just a fact. That's why voting is so important. For example, all right, I'm right here in South Carolina. I'm gonna give you some simple numbers. Even if you're sitting in the barbershop or in the hair salon, you can understand this. Let's talk about the power of our vote, especially my brothers and sisters, my black brothers and sisters, my brown brothers and sisters, my Hispanic brothers and sisters, my Afro-Latino brothers and sisters, my Asian American brothers and sisters, my anti-racist white brothers and sisters. So I'm here in South Carolina right now. State's got about 4 million people, 4 million, and let me correct, 4 million total registered voters. All right, so now out of that, you've got nearly 1 million registered black voters, to be exact, around 967,000. That was like as of 2020. So we're talking about, you can round that off. We're talking about like 1 million black folks. That is almost like a quarter of the registered voters, like right around 25% are African American. Now you're wondering, okay, how many of those registered African American black voters voted in 2020? Only about 612,000 out of 967,000. You can do the math. So that's like, what, that's almost 350,000 that didn't even vote. Can you imagine? Jamie Harrison was running to be the United States Senator. He didn't lose by that much. I think it was somewhere around 5 points. Can you imagine what would have happened? Even if you didn't get all 350,000, just if you would have gotten half of that. So if 175,000 more African Americans would have came out and voted for Jamie Harrison, he would have won like running away. Lindsey Graham did not win anywhere near by 175,000 votes. So that is just one example. Not to mention there's about 23,000 registered Hispanic voters in South Carolina. Now they all may not have voted for Jamie Harrison, but he could have got a lot of them. Probably could have got maybe 50, 60% at least, if not more. So we have the power. And we also got to put the pressure on everybody from President Biden. You got to call Senator Tim Scott and Senator Lindsey Graham and ask them why are you not protecting my right to vote? Because I didn't necessarily vote for you? You don't know that. You don't know that I wouldn't vote for you. Well, y'all know I wouldn't, but I'm just saying. You need to challenge them. Why are they not protecting your right to vote? You need to contact all of your senators and your House of Representatives. There's a reason why so many states have passed laws and have so many laws on the books. Like almost 40 states have somewhere around 400 pieces of legislation trying to suppress the vote, primarily suppressed the vote of black and brown, elderly, and young people. Why? If voting was not important, I promise you, so many folks would not be working so hard to take your right to vote. If voting didn't matter, then they would pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or the Freedom to Vote Act with no problem. And back in the day, even Republicans voted to pass the Voting Rights Act. So I can't stress enough, guys. This midterm next year, don't believe the hype. Don't believe that, oh, President Biden ain't done nothing. Actually, he's done a lot. And we're going to do more, and could do more if he had more senators and members of the House of Representatives that would help him help all of us, like making sure that everybody has universal pre-care and make sure that the people who are the single moms, single dads, and single families, or not single families, but you got some two-parent families that are struggling financially, that need that money, the money that they're getting, the child tax care, the child tax credits, the $250, $300 a month, child tax credits people are getting. As a matter of fact, next week, that money's going to hit a lot of people. Then in December, but as of now, it's going to end on December 31st. There are a lot of people that need that money. Next year, it has taken tens of millions of people and families out of poverty. There are people who are watching me right now who are receiving that child tax credit money, and it has changed their life, the lives for them and their family. They don't have to worry about running out of food at the end of the month or running out of medicine out of the end of the month. They don't have to worry about getting check advances and loans and going further in debt just to keep food on the table or to pay for medicine or to keep the lights on. So I can't stress enough, listen, Snap, like I said, Snap had that song back in the 90s. I got the power, we got the power, you got the power, but you gotta use it. Because if you don't use it, you allow other people to use your power against you. Think about that. My guest today is State Senator Mia McCloud. She's been a guest of mine, ladies and gentlemen. She is running to be our next governor. I want to thank you for joining me once again. State Senator McCloud, hello, always great to have you. Thank you for your patience, because I know it seems like every time you come on the show, I'm on one, but I'm on one every day when it comes to our voting rights and us, not just as African Americans, black and brown, gay, straight, transgender, whatever, of all of us to use our power. And it's a right that we all have. And our ancestors specifically, they died in many cases. They shedded blood and they gave up their lives. So people like you and I, so Senator McCloud, you are the dreams of your ancestors. I'm the dreams of my ancestors to be able to have my own show and my own network, my own channel. You are definitely the dreams of your ancestors to be in a position to be a state senator here in South Carolina as a black woman running to be the next governor of the state. So I can't stress enough how important it is that we use our power and that we hold politicians who are public figures, and their job is to represent we, the people, all the people, not some, not a few, not just the ones that they like, or they voted for us, and not represent all the people. As DJ Cassidy says, State Senator, I pass you the mic. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Geno. How are you?
I know. I'm sorry. I am so and you know, we've talked so many times, off camera. I'm very passionate about voting. I've been like that since I was a kid. My family members have all been. It's just something that's just in my DNA. I take it very seriously.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I mean, we definitely need fierce leaders like you on that issue and other issues, because we're at a critical time in our state right now.
And
So I appreciate you for what you do.
thank you. It's. I just wanted to add something. I was, doing my homework. South Carolina is one of the states that had a chance to receive a lot of money when the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, was passed. As a matter of fact, if I'm correct, you can correct me. I believe somewhere around 200,000 people don't have health insurance now that would have gotten health insurance had we accepted the Medicare money that was coming to us. Now, this is taxpayer money, so this is money that a lot of us paid into Medicaid or Medicare. Medicaid.
Right.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Paid into Medicaid, who desperately need it, who desperately need the health, who at this moment, watching us right now, don't have health care. Families, elderly people, you have people on disability, young people, children who don't have health insurance that would have it if we would have accepted this money. And it's our money. The government's like, no, look, here, take it. There's no strings attached. Take it and use this money and give people who desperately need health insurance. So how close to I in terms of that number? How accurate is that number? You can correct me.
I think that number is pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say what happens to our federal tax dollars when we don't expand Medicaid is that that money goes to other states, and those states are happy to get our money. Here's the thing: at least 39 other states, Republican governors included, have expanded Medicaid because it just makes good sense. I can tell you, as someone who has a pre-existing condition, when I was raising my sons were much younger, and I was newly divorced. My health insurance premium every month, now this was before Obamacare, before the Affordable Care Act, but my health insurance premium every month was higher than my mortgage. And so there were, because of my pre-existing condition, for those of your listeners who may not be aware, I was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia when I came to USC. And I'm fortunate, I'm really blessed because I have a much milder form of the disease. But I have been very sick at times because I have sickle cell. And there were many months when I had to go without health insurance because I couldn't afford 2 mortgages. I mean, I was making good money. I was working hard every day. I was taking care of my sons and all of their school and extracurricular activities, and I just could not afford 2 mortgages and all of my other expenses. So when I tell you that there are so many South Carolinians, especially now, we're in an epic public health crisis as we speak, and we could have been beyond this pandemic by now, I believe, if we had done the right things early on. But the reality is we don't have leaders who care enough and who are capable of doing the right thing. And so we are still dealing with this pandemic, and it is still killing us in record numbers, and disproportionately killing and sickening people of color. So yes, the reality is Henry McMaster should have expanded Medicaid before the pandemic, but certainly at the once this virus was declared a global pandemic, why wouldn't you? I mean, it would help us reopen our rural hospitals. Hospital in my hometown was open when I was younger, thank God, or I might not be here. But that hospital is no longer open in Marlborough County, in Ventura, where I'm from. And that is the case across the state with our rural hospitals and all our already underserved, forgotten, neglected rural communities. So he could have done that to make sure that 200,000 people don't continue to fall through the cracks when it comes to quality, affordable health care. it would also be a tremendous economic boost for our state. And it just makes economic sense. I mean, and I know you don't think that Republican governors across the country have expanded Medicaid out of the goodness of their hearts. They have expanded it because it makes economic sense to expand it, and it brings healthcare professionals back to our state. We talk a lot about losing teachers, but the reality is we're losing doctors and nurses and healthcare practitioners every single day because we just won't do the right thing. And that begins with doing right by all of the people of South Carolina.
And the economic part, I was going to mention and jump in right behind you. I'll do it now. If you just look at it from that standpoint, it is much cheaper to allow people to be able to have health insurance so they can go to the doctor on a regular basis. So
they can go to work. Don't we care about them going to work, right? That's where that mess is saying, like, oh yeah, we got to get these people back to work. Well, sick people don't work, and dead people don't work. So what we're doing is counterproductive. It's not consistent, not in alignment with what we're saying we're doing.
Right.
And that's just,
And I'm glad you pointed that out. Yes, you want people to go to work, they got to be healthy. But just since we're talking about money here, it's a whole lot cheaper to give people health insurance so they can go to their doctor on a regular basis. So God forbid, if they come down with something, it's better to catch it in an early stage than stage 4. And it's better to have them to go to a primary care doctor than to always have to go to the emergency room. Because that is just outrageous. Anybody that's ever been to the ER, you see that bill. You're talking about a mortgage. Heck, you could buy a mansion with some of these bills you get in the ER. So just from an economic standpoint, even if I think it's a moral issue. Me personally, I mean, I don't understand how the wealthiest nation in the history of the planet can't make sure that everybody has just basic health insurance. That's just a moral issue for me. But even if morals be damned. You don't care about the morals. You care about the money.
Right. In this state, they have been. Yes.
Right. So that's just it's something I really don't get, and I think it's so important. And the story that you just shared with us, let's think about those 200,000 people right now in this state who don't have health insurance, that have had to. I can't imagine. Here we are in a global pandemic, a once in a century pandemic, people all around dying from COVID. It could be you, a person with pre-existing conditions, or maybe a mom or dad or a grandparent, or you could have a child who may have pre-existing conditions, or even not. How scary does it have to be? Like you said, you were a mom. You were at the time you said you were recently divorced. I can imagine. I got 2 daughters. I could not imagine when they were young not having some type of health insurance. I mean, I was nervous. When they got a cold, I'm ready to rush them to the emergency room. The nurse is like, look, you can't take them to the doctor every time they get a fever. But I can't imagine how frightening that would be for a parent not having health insurance for your child, at least, even if you don't have it for yourself. Any parent wants to make sure that they have health insurance for their child or children.
Right. Yeah, it is a scary place to be. And unfortunately, it's still scary for a lot of people. And these are, our governor has done a number on this state. And what I mean by that is he is intentionally misleading the people of the state when it comes to jobs, unemployment, opportunities, healthcare, public education, all of it. And he's sticking to his talking points about those very issues because they don't make sense. I mean, if you listen to the rhetoric, all he talks about is, we got to get people back to work, and insinuating and implying that, people who aren't working are lazy. Well, that's not true. There are a lot of hardworking people in the state, but people have to be able to live. It's not enough to go to work every day to make somebody else prosperous. You have to be able to live and thrive because you are working. And that is not the case for so many South Carolinians. And we're talking, so that leads to the whole issues around living wages and making sure that people can afford housing, making sure that they can afford transportation, making sure that they can afford childcare.
There you go.
I heard you talking
That's
about
where I was going.
Yeah, that is crazy to think that everything that these Republicans talk about is around work and jobs and employment and bringing industry into the state. But what they are not saying is South Carolinians aren't benefiting. Well, too many South Carolinians aren't benefiting even when those industries and jobs come into the state, because we don't have a public education system that supports people and gives them the skill sets and educational background that they need to fill those high paying positions. So people can be educated all they want, but if they're not healthy, if they have to work minimum wage jobs, they're likely working multiple jobs.
Yes.
And they just are not able to make ends meet. They don't have health insurance. So anything that happens is major, especially during a global pandemic. So while he has access to all the monoclonal antibody treatments and the best of the best, just like
yes.
Trump did,
yes,
we don't have that for everyday South Carolinians who are working hard to try and keep a roof over their heads, who are working hard to try and keep food on their tables and clothes on their backs and be able to afford medicines and a place to live. I was just in Charleston last Wednesday, and I went to the Ports Authority to meet with folks in the International Longshoremen's Association and to meet the Secretary of Labor when he came into town. And the stories that I heard from people who are working, this is a state that is, we call ourselves a tourism state because that is our, one of our biggest money makers. But at what cost? The cost is so great to everyday South Carolinians. I heard a few ladies on that day, on Wednesday, talk about their wages and the fact that they are not able to live. There was one woman who spoke to our group, and she made $2 and something an hour and is forced to live off tips in the service industry. And another works at a fast food restaurant and makes $8, a little over $8 an hour, and is not able to afford her son's medicine. And
you know what?
It's just heart-wrenching to think about and to know that here are people who are working hard, doing the best that they can, trying to, just make ends meet. And more often than not, our governor and our government we pull the rug out from under them, and that has got to change.
And I'm glad you went there, because that was something else I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you can give me the answer offhand, but where does South Carolina rank in terms of income or poverty? For example, West Virginia. People hear me a lot on the show talking about West Virginia and with Senator Joe Manchin and how all the decisions he's making politically are against the best interest of West Virginia. It's like out of 50 states, is 49th in terms of poverty and wealth. Where does South Carolina rank when it comes to that? And you talked about education, not to mention child care. What is this governor going to do to make sure that single moms, single working dads, or families even with two parents in the household, what kind of support are they going to get? Not to mention just with wages, with money, but in terms of support when it comes to child care.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where we rank now, but I have to believe that we're still at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because that's where we've been, and that's where we'll continue to be until we have a leader in the governor's office who makes the lives and livelihoods of everyday South Carolinians a priority. And I will do that as governor. So,
Senator McCloud, I know this is probably won't be a challenge for you because you just have a way with people, but I would just think one of the biggest challenges is people who vote against their own best interest when it comes to their finances and their children's education, or even when it comes to their rights as women. And unfortunately, I just got to be honest about it, because I've seen it too many times. It's a playbook that came from a politician, Lee Atwater from the South. They use these cultural issues, fake issues, and they use. I call it the con, because racism really is a huge con. This concept of whiteness and race, which is made up to basically kind of distract people and get them to not focus on the things that are really affecting their life, like being able to make like a real living wage, like having health insurance for you and your children, making sure that you've got money so you can afford childcare, so you can go to work. Because in many cases, you talked about mortgage, childcare is as much or more than a mortgage.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So how do you kind of cut through the fear mongering and the fanning of the racial flames that so many politicians have done? It's like the oldest playbook politically. How do you get past that to get people to focus on, listen, don't get distracted with this, okay? Because at the end of the day, you are human. And whether you are a wealthy white person in Sullivan's Island or a poor working class person in rural South Carolina, you had the same issues, with a poor working class person on the east side of Charleston, or a more affluent black person that lives in an affluent neighborhood in Somerville or whatever. How do you get that message to that voter?
Well, I've got a number of thoughts about that. And one is, we talk a lot about people voting against their own interests, and that is so true. That is something that that's a force that we have to overcome, because, and I think it lies in part with our ability and our willingness to communicate with all of the people of South Carolina. And because when we communicate, and when we do that in a real and meaningful way, we have the ability to connect with other people. And it becomes less about race, it becomes less about gender, it becomes less about socioeconomic when you can say, hey, this has been an issue for me too, or this is how this particular policy is impacting me and my family. And I'm seeing that so much now during the pandemic, just helping constituents across the state. I represent Richland and Kershaw counties, but yet I get phone calls and emails from folks across the state in traditionally red areas that have been considered Republican areas. And so as Democrats, we have to move beyond, I think, in order for us to move beyond the rhetoric, we have to move beyond issues like race and go to the heart of what is impacting all of us. We talk a lot about the fact that the Republicans have, I won't even give them successfully, but I will say that they have put a lot of time and energy into dividing us and politicizing this pandemic. Well, you and I both know that this pandemic is killing Republicans and Democrats.
Yes.
And it has put Republicans and Democrats out of jobs, white people and white people and brown people out of jobs. And so when folks who would not traditionally or normally reach out for help, I try to help them just like I do, folks who live in my district, regardless of where they live, because I can empathize with what they're going through. And I've had so many tell me, hey, you know what? I voted Republican all my life, but what we're doing now with this whole pandemic, I just lost my dad, or I just lost my grandmother, or I just lost my sister to this virus. And why isn't anybody doing it? Why aren't y'all doing something about that? And why are y'all sending our kids back to school without vaccinations, knowing that they're too young? So it's not until these issues hit home for them that we have a real opportunity. And when I say we, I mean those of us who care and want to try and talk to people and connect with them in a way that is meaningful so that they don't vote against their own interests. And those, and not just folks who vote against their own interests, but people who don't vote. Because the two are, I mean, they are in lockstep, and they are hurtful and harmful to the efforts of all of us who are trying to move South Carolina forward in a better direction. So those are the ways, those are the openings that I see, the opportunities that I see before us, is that, you know, we have a real opportunity with this pandemic. That is one of the blessings, I guess, if you will, that has come from it. That it's kind of highlighted the fact that we're on equal footing when it comes to this pandemic. Like, I am just as susceptible as a Republican who has a pre-existing condition. And, you know, when that finally sinks in, people have at least said that they are open to doing things differently. And that's encouraging. I hate that it took all of that for them to see that we're all the same.
Yeah.
And we want the same things. I don't know why we've allowed ourselves to be divided. And that's not the division isn't always just between Republicans and Democrats, or Black people and white people. It is between people who have and people who don't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've got to make a concerted effort to change that. And that is the only way that we can really get our arms around all of the challenges that we're facing as a state, and hopefully, you know, rise above them and move everybody in our state forward in a better direction.
Senator McCloud, I've been saying since I've been on, my show is relatively new. I've been on for just over a year now, about a year. And I've been saying all along, because I came on right in the heart of COVID-19 pandemic. Disease doesn't discriminate. Over 750,000 Americans. And this disease has not discriminated. Doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you don't have. You can be homeless or in the largest mansion in the state. Does not, your net worth can be $1 billion, or you can be $100,000 in debt. This disease, and disease in general, does not discriminate. So I want to thank you. You've been very generous. Before you get out of here, I want you to do this for me. I want you to give your best somewhat elevator pitch. You got more than 20 seconds. They say elevator pitches is usually 20 or 30 seconds, but you got more time than that. So if we were to go, if I was to say, Senator McCloud, let's go to, I got some barbershops, I got some hair salons, and then I know some folks in some rural areas. Let's say if everywhere from Greenville to Charleston, from Florence to Bamberg, and everywhere in between, Columbia, big city, rural areas, veterans of foreign war halls, VFW halls, tomorrow's Veterans Day, and shout out to the United States Marine Corps. Happy 246th birthday. If you were to go to that, I think you got the Marine base down there in Beaufort. We got the Joint Air Force base here. And people asked, Senator McCloud, if I vote for you, how are you going to make my everyday life better? My life better for me every day, for me and my kids? What would you say?
That's a great question. And one of the big reasons that I'm running for governor is to do just that. I believe that you shouldn't have to know somebody to be somebody who matters in this state. And so one of the first things, there's no shortage of challenges for us right now as South Carolinians. I was born and raised here. I'm a 7th generation South Carolinian. I've never left this state. And part of the reason that I know we have to be the change that we want to see is because my young adult sons, I have 2 young adult sons who I love more than life, and they don't want to live here in South Carolina. And I get it. I understand why. And so my goal as your governor is to make sure that I do everything in my power to create a South Carolina where everybody can thrive, so that we don't continue to lose our best and brightest to other states, to better pay, better opportunities, better quality of life. We can have all of that right here. We just don't, because our leaders are short-sighted. They don't have the courage to lead. They don't have the guts to govern. And so they attempt to divide, because when they can divide us, they can conquer us. And that is what has been happening, as we just talked about. But as governor, I will, when it comes to this pandemic and anything else that's scientific and science related, I will follow the science and listen to the advice of public health experts, because I'm not a public health expert. And I believe that until we do everything in our power to put this pandemic behind us, we can't move forward in any direction. Everything is kind of stifled right now because of the pandemic. So that's the first thing. I will expand Medicaid on day one, because of the reasons that I've already stated. And there's no reason why our federal dollars should continue to go to other states when we need that money right here. I'll continue to fight to make sure that we get all the American Rescue Plan money, the infrastructure money, and that we use it wisely and use it to benefit the people of this state. I will fight to pay people wages that they can actually live on. I mean, $15 an hour for me is the ground. That is where it should start.
Yes.
It's definitely not the ceiling. It's the floor. I will fully and equitably fund public education, healthcare, and infrastructure, because the three go hand in hand. And we keep talking about all of these strides that we're making, but the reality is we're putting Band-Aids on little bits and pieces of each of those issues, and it's really not benefiting us as a whole or individually. So I will also make sure that all the federal money that's slated to come to South Carolina, we accept, whether that is, the money that's already been appropriated by the federal government, whether it's Medicaid money, whether it's ARPA money, infrastructure money, whatever, all of the money that is coming from the federal government for South Carolina, I will request and use to help the people of South Carolina. And the last thing is one of the biggest things. I will continue to tackle the systemic reforms that we need. We cannot afford to just piecemeal the fixes and to address the challenges that are before us. We have to change the systems that are at work when it comes to the economy, education, healthcare, criminal justice, all of it, our environment. I mean, there's, like I said, no shortage of issues, but they all require systemic reforms, and I am committed to that. So I have your support if you are willing to just take a look at my record of service. I've worked on both sides of the aisle. I've got executive and legislative branch experience. I'm the only candidate in this race who has that, in the primary at least. And I would love to have your help and your support. Please go to miaforsc.com. Look at what I've done. Look at what my vision is, what my values are. And if they are in alignment with yours, I ask for your support, your vote, your donations. If you can volunteer, we need all hands on deck. We need your help. So thank you for the opportunity, Geno. Love to be with you always.
Listen, thank you. Listen, thank you for blessing me and my show coming on. Let me just say this before you leave. Once again, make sure you go to Mia at
miaforsc.com.
Yeah, I just want to be sure. Yeah, Mia. You're right, and it's FOR, not the number 4. miaforsc.com.
And at my social media, I'm at miaforsc on all social media platforms.
So you all get that. Go support. All right. Now I'm just saying it. Support this sister. Our campaigns cost money. All right, they don't run on air and love. We got love with this sister, but it's the song, what's love got to do? Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? In this case, when it comes to running this campaign, not a darn thing, okay? So make sure that you support you see for yourself. But there's something that you said that really hit home for me, and I just want to drive this point home because I thought it was so profound. But I know for a fact, because I've been here almost 17 years, TV and radio. I've talked to a lot of people. I've met a lot of people from nightclubs to union halls and you name it, everywhere in between. But I have two daughters. I got one that's in college back in Chicago. My oldest is in Portland. And my baby, who's in Chicago, basically said something to me, and I've heard her friends in conversations say something that you were concerned about what your son said to you, that they didn't want to stay here. Once she got out of high school, when she got out of School of the Arts here, she was determined to leave because she just felt that there weren't any opportunities, and she just felt, now she was 17 at the time, not even 18, or just going on 18. She just didn't feel that there was any opportunities, especially for a young black woman. It's just, she doesn't see opportunity, the systemic racism, so many things, sexism, misogyny. And it was just, she was like, Dad, look, I love you, I love Mom, but I just don't feel that I could be the best version of myself. And I've heard that, unfortunately, Senator McCloud, from so many young people. I have a feature on my radio show called Geno's Academic All-Stars, where parents or teachers, principals or students, they send me a copy of a student's report card, from kindergartners to seniors in high school with an A average. And I use my radio platform to try to just recognize them and shine a spotlight on them, especially black children, for academic excellence, because the narrative in the media is anything but that. I mean, you only shine a light on young black kids if something bad happens, and they never shine a light when it's something good that happens. But I've had so many of these young people who stop me. They may see me, in the mall somewhere or at the store, and they're like, Mr. Geno, I was one of your academic all-stars when I was a kindergartner or third grade or seventh grade or in high school, and I've graduated from college, and they're very proud. But a lot of them say, I say, you coming back home? And they're like, no, it's like, I love home. I love South Carolina or Charleston or whatever, but I don't just feel that there's any opportunity for me to be the best version of myself. So you address that and creating a climate so we stop losing our best and brightest, because that's going to catch up with us one day. So I thought that was
very soon, because not only are we losing our best and brightest, but that alone will continue to impact future generations for the foreseeable future. But we are, it's just at a point. I started thinking about the fact that my classmates left the state and they never come back. They haven't come back yet.
Yeah.
They may when they retire, but here's the thing. We are losing our best and brightest on both ends, because even when the jobs and the industry come to South Carolina, and they do, we don't have homegrown South Carolinians who are able to fill those jobs because of our minimally adequate education standard. Because we pay lip service to workforce development, but we don't give South Carolinians the tools and the resources that they need to be able to fill those positions and not have to work multiple jobs. So it's just cyclical, and we keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Kind of like what I, talk about on the campaign trail. Like, I'm a different candidate, obviously. I'm the first Black woman to ever announce a run for governor in this state. And we have to stop doing things the same way just because we've done them the same way in the past, and because we've done them the same way in the past, because we keep losing and nobody's paying attention to that fact. We keep losing because we're doing things the same way, and it's so predictable. So I'm hoping that people will think outside the box and dare to do something different, something that will ignite a fire under our young people and bring those that we've lost, because we disenfranchised South Carolinians ourselves, I believe.
Yes.
Because we have not had leaders in place or people in place vying for these offices that truly have a connection to everyday people. And that's something that has to change. Otherwise, we're going to continue to get people who vote against their own interests or people who don't vote at all because they don't think that they matter.
Yes.
And they see that even when Barack Obama was elected, they might have still been in line, and they call the election before people were able to vote. And I had a lot of people ask, well, how can they know, like, before every vote is counted, whether somebody has won or lost? And, so I won't get into that, but people have lots of reasons for believing that their vote doesn't matter. Or when they voted for Jamie Harrison and Jamie didn't win, they think, oh, my vote didn't count anyway. Well, yeah, it did. We just need you to continue to vote and to bring 5 other people with you to vote.
Right.
Because it's that serious.
The 612,000 Black South Carolinians that voted in 2020 counted. But if they could have got at least about 100, 175,000, 200,000 more of their cousins and kinfolk and classmates, right, Jamie, he would be Senator Jamie Harrison. So it can be done. We can create the life that we want for ourselves and our kids. Right. Mia for SC.com, MIAFORSC.com. State Senator Mia McCloud. Thank you. God bless you. May God continue to bless and cover you, your family, and your campaign.
Always glad to be on your show.
My mother's a huge fan of yours. She wishes that if she was here, she'd be right in the front row, right there cheering.
Her.
Yeah, you love.
I'd love to meet her. Yeah, tell her thank you.
Yeah, well, you just told her because she's watching. She's gotten better. She's in the hospital, but I'll talk to her today. She's doing better. She should be going home hopefully tomorrow or maybe Friday. So, but she's still watching. She was watching last night. I didn't know. She was texting me live. leaving me a message in my chat box. I thought she was at home. I called her. She was like, "No, baby, I'm here at the hospital, but I'm watching my baby. I'm watching my son." So
I know she is. I know she's super proud of you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, State Senator McCloud. All right, till next time. We'll come back soon, and whatever else got on your mind, feel free. You got a home. I told you that. You got a home, and you got the ultimate pitch man. You got the king of MCs.
I love it. Yes, keep bringing it.
All right, thank you, State Senator.
I'll definitely be back. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, State Senator Mia McCloud. You saw right there, just dynamic, beautiful spirit, brilliant, smart, and she's about the people. It's about public politicians. See, too many politicians are in this for themselves, and they got it backwards. It's twisted. Really, first of all, the people elect you. We give politicians who are public figures, public servants, that's the term I really want to use. They're public servants. That means your job, the primary reason that job exists is to serve the public, to do everything you can to create a climate and to pass laws to make the lives of everyday people who are less fortunate, as fortunate, even more fortunate, to make everybody, or as Nelly would say, everybody's life, not just some folks, not just the top 1 or 2% that poured hundreds of thousands of dollars and $1 million into your campaign coffers. No, the folks, they can't even afford to donate money to your campaign. The folks that are working 2 or 3 jobs, like Senator McCloud said, getting $8.25 an hour in 2021, which as far as I'm concerned is criminal. That the people give you the power. And politicians who are about the people understand that they are public servants. They don't get caught up with the politics of it. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share this and every episode. Please like this and every episode. Go back if you came in halfway through. Go back and listen to the entire conversation I had with State Senator McCloud. I don't know why you wouldn't listen, okay? Listen, it's time to, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing you've been doing and expecting to get a different result. It ain't, I know for all my English majors and English teachers, well, ain't proper. Well, I know it isn't, but I'm saying it ain't, to emphasize the point, it ain't gonna happen if you continue to do what you've been doing and you haven't gotten the results you want, and if you think it's gonna change, it ain't gonna change until you do something different. So please, you and everybody you know, subscribe to the channel, share this in every episode, like every episode. I'm right here if you'd like to be a sponsor. If you'd like to advertise on the show, on the channel, I'd love to have you. It's the ultimate pitch man. If you're looking for that pitch man or brand ambassador, help you build your brand, your business, generate sales and revenue, help move your products, your goods, your services. Like I said, I'm the king of pitch man. Holler at your boy. Hey, there you go. My mother just said, Senator McCloud, hi. Told you. I knew she was watching. All right, everybody, I gotta get out of here tomorrow. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is gonna be happening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I love each and every one of you. And Mother, you know I love you more than life itself. Before I get out of here, I just want to say one final thing. As always, be blessed. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody you know. If you're watching, you're probably already subscribed. If not, please subscribe to the channel. Let everybody you know and don't know subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Check out the Geno Jones Show. Go back and binge watch all those great episodes you missed. And I'll see you live again Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.